Well, hello and welcome to the BuilderDad shop. I am BuilderDadDan, and today we're going to be doing a SketchUp tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're going to build a cap for the DEWALT 735 planer. For this planer, I have recently modified mine to no longer use the chip extractor. And so I'm building a cap to go over the back of that. So basically, I can keep the fan in use. That way the fan will keep the motor cool. And I can do this in a way where I basically prevent somebody from putting their fingers in there and having their fingers connect the fan. So we're just going to make a little cap here. It's going to have some vents in it for exhaust. And so we're going to get going. So again, like always, I use the SketchUp Pro version. This is SketchUp Pro 2022. For this version, this is paid. And let's get started. What I like to do is I'm going to give myself some reference points out into space. So I'm going to go put a 5-inch line in there, and I'm going to come over here and go 0.5, kind of like a pirate. X marks the spot. Or in this case, I'm going to go ahead and snap to my green. Come on. There we go. Snap to my green axis. And there we go. Now I've got a line there. And so I'm using the line tool here. Just an L on my keyboard pulls that up for me. And I'm going to go ahead and drop a line out here. I'm going to go my red axis. And the reason why I'm doing this, I'm just adding in, it's going to be 0.5, 0.5. That's all I'm doing here. The reason for it is that I'm giving myself some points out in space. I know on this, I'm going to be having a cylinder that I'm going to have to push through the cylinder to kind of make the 2 holes that I want to make. And so I kind of want a point in space that I know that was straight at some point to reference off of. So in this case here, I know that I'm going to have a circumference for the inner circumference is 2 and 13/16. So that's a radius of 1 and 13/32. There we go. And so now I've got that. Let's go ahead and we're just going to tape measure and check that. That's a T on the keyboard to get to that tape measure command. And so let's go ahead. We're going to click the outer area of that circle. And we're going to increase this up. Basically, I want to add a bunch of segments to this. For 3D printing, if we look at this right now, it's got 24 segments. And so this is going to be very blocky when it prints, and I want to make it as round as possible. So I'm going to try to max this out with what SketchUp will let me do. So I'm going to try 170 segments. It doesn't like that, too big. So let's go 168, not too big. What is it, 150? Okay, it likes 150. What about 158? Likes 158. What about 159? Likes 159. What about 160? Ooh, it's liking 160. 162. 164. All right, 164 is good. 165. 166. 67. All right, 166. 166 segments across a circle that is 2 and 13/16. All right, so now we've got that. Now for this, we're going to have, this will be the inner portion of it. Then we're going to have an outer portion. So I'm going to come over here to the offset tool. I'm going to click on that circle, and I know that I'm going to have a wall on this that's going to be 1/8 inch thick. So there's my 1/8 inch wall. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to make this 1/16 tall. So not a ton of structure to it, but what it's going to be is something nice. All right, so the reason for that is that I'm actually going to be printing this, right? So this is a 3D printed object. So I'm going to have a 1/8 inch outer wall. I'm going to have a 1/16 inch basically plate on the end. For this. So it'll kind of make sense as I get it drawing here. So I push-pulled that. I hit the P on my keyboard to get to the push-pull tool. So I push-pulled that up 1/16. And now if you see here on the bottom, I've got that gap. So if I want to go close that, I'm going to go put my line tool on there, draw a line on there, and I've got that. Now I'm going to hit E on my keyboard and I'm going to erase that. So now I've got something with structure that's a solid object that is 1/16 inch thick. I'm going to do myself a favor here. I'm going to reverse the face on this. And then that way it looks like a real nice model. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and push pull this. I know that I want to come up to the same 1/16 there. And then it's got to raise up off the surface 3/4 of an inch to be fine there. So now we're going to double check down here. Everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to erase this geometry. This way, this will be a solid object. You can't have extra lines when making solid objects. All right, so now I've got this all designed here. We're good to go. And it's time to go ahead and draw a cylinder to come across and pierce this. So I'm going to come up back to my little reference point in space here. I'm going to go up on the blue axis there, and I'm going to go 3/8 up and then add a 1/16 to it. I could have just done the math on that and it would have been 7/16, but hey, I was being lazy. All right, so I know that I'm going to have a screw or a hole that's going to pierce this, and it's going to come across, and that hole is going to be 1/4 of an inch thick or wide. So I'm going to go ahead and find my handy dandy circle, hitting C on my keyboard for that. And I'm going to come back over here, and there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this 1/8. And there we go. Let's just double check that this is. This is what it is. All right, so let's go back here. I'd missed a step along the way. I want to I'm going to triple click this, and I'm going to hit G. I'm going to make this component A. Okay. And now I've got this little guy here. And I'm going to just go ahead and push pull it. I just want to see what it does. And look at that. All right, it's going to poke through on that geometry. Perfectly fine. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come back here for a second. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to erase that and erase that. I'm going to double click that there. I'm going to control B. Or control, sorry, I'm gonna hit G and say B as in boy. And there we go. And we've got that. Now I'm gonna go into this component. So I've got two components now. I'm gonna pull this across and pierce. Okay. So there's my first component. I'm gonna pierce that there. I'm gonna stop that there. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pierce this twice. Basically, I'm gonna have two pinholes. One's got a metal pin that's going to push in on the machine, and the other one's going to be a plastic pin that I've got to actually find and reference. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and move this. I'm going to hit Control to duplicate this. So I use the Move tool, M, to get to the Move tool. And once I'm in the Move tool, I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm going to make sure that these line up just perfectly fine. And there we go. So now I've got two objects piercing. Okay. So now, let me remember if I can do this or if I have to move the other object out in space for a second. I'm going to go up here. I've got the solid tools, the solid toolbar turned onto my machine. So that was under View, Toolbars. You can see down here where you can select solid tools. Okay. I've got solid tools, and I'm going to hit the subtract. I'm going to pick that object. I'm going to pick this object. And now by doing that, if you noticed, I had two solid objects, and now I have subtracted the first solid object out of the second solid object. But you know what I did? I'm going to back it up. You see all these little lines? I could have gone a little better with that circle. Oh, Dan. Always with this. Control Z, backing on up. All right, so we were back here. We've got our little object. Let's go ahead and click that radius again, and let's see. I don't think we can do, I think we We can do 29. Okay, we can do 29 for sure. Can we do 30? We do 30. About 35. 35 works. 40? Okay, 40 works. Oh, I wonder if it's 48. 49. 49 works. 50? Nope. 49 segments. That's as big as you can do on a 1/4 inch circumference circle or 1/8 inch radius. All right, so now we go. Now let's do that again. So we've got our little object. We're going to pull this out and we're going to pierce. Okay, we pierced it. Let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and use the move tool. We're going to do that one more time. Hit control on that and we're going to, drive it around there a little bit. And we're on the green axis. There we go. Perfect. Everything's lining up just fine. All right, great. Handy dandy. There we go. All right, back to our subtraction tool. We're going to select our, we're going to escape. All right, back to the subtraction tool. We're going to pick our first solid component and then our second. It subtracts it right on out. It uses that handy dandy tool to do that. And now here we go. Now we've got this second piece here. The way that this is going to work is that I need these two pins to be perfectly across from each other. And then I'm going to rotate it. So I need to be able to insert in on this and then rotate down. And so to do that, we're going to basically add over and then subtract a section to this. So let's do this. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get out of that tool. We're going to select this. We're going to go to the move tool. I'm going to move. We're going to copy. And we're going to make these two touch. And then, so now I've got two right there. So now I've got my, where I'm going to go and lock my pin into. And then I'm going to basically come up here and use these circles to cut this out. Maybe it is not the most effective way, but maybe it is the way that is most effective to me. All right. And so there we go. We got two circles and we're going to cut this completely out all the way to the top. All right. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn these two things or these three things into a component. So I'm going to G for my components. I'm going to hit this and go to C. So now I've got component C created right here. I'm going to go ahead and move component C out into the world here. And I'm going to go ahead and just move this 10. And that way I know that it's 10 out in the future, or 10, not out in the future, 10 out into the green axis. All right, so now that I've got this here, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to use the line tool. We're going to go into this and we're going to build a shape. Okay. All right, let's go in here and let's find, is that the highest point of the circle? Maybe. Maybe not. Let's start down here first, I guess. All right, let's go. We're going to go straight up with this. We're going to go just a little bit to the top of that. Okay, so we got a line there. And we're going to do right on this other side here. We're going to do a line here, a line there, connect this, connect the dots. Now we're going to come back over here and we're going to connect this over there. All right. And then we've got, I'm going to have to connect down here as well. And then we're going to come back over here. right there. And then we can connect. Let's see, we come down with the pin. The pin slides in, slides over. Do we need it all the way over? Don't mind me as I think through this really quick here. No, the pin can come down and slide over. All right, cool. So we've got that. So let's go ahead and mark that in. And then we've got... So let's see, we've got this here. That there. That there. From there to there. There. There to there. There to there. There to there. All right, perfect. Now we've got some geometry to play with. All right, let's do this. We've got all that done. So now we kind of got a rough shape that we're going to cut out of that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to click these 3 things there, and we're going to explode these out. Okay, I'm going to explode those. And then let's do this. Delete that out. Okay. And then we can delete these there. All right. So now we've got this here at the end. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the eraser tool. We're going to drop out these chunks of lines here. So the one thing is when you're making solid objects, you have to remove all the excess geometry, and you can go to the view to view hidden geometry. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but we want to make a solid shape. There's also an inspection tool that you can get from the extension warehouse that allows you to basically remove or find and repair hidden geometry, because there are times where hidden geometry exists and you gotta get rid of it. So that's the fun part about doing things with a 3D printer in SketchUp, is you gotta make sure that all your hidden geometry is gone, especially when you're adding and subtracting things. All right, we got one more piece down here. All right. That looks good. Okay, well, let's go ahead and push-pull this then. And we're going to push-pull this. What do I make this? Make this 5 long? Perfect. Got it 5 long. It's more than enough. There we go. Now if we look back over here, we've got this. Ooh, that looks nice. Okay. Here we go. Moment of truth. If we hit the minus tool on the solid objects, that's a solid component. I don't have to fix it. Yay. Okay. There we go. Look at that. Removed it out, and then we've got a little pin hole right here. It's going to mount onto. This is perfect. All right. So now we can go get rid of our geometry out here. We can get rid of our geometry out there. Here, little geometry, every little geometry. Old McGeometry had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Oh. All right. So now I've got what looks like the cap. Except now I need some air holes. All right, so let's flip it upside down. That's why I like this space mouth. See this? Now, in the normal world, I could have gone over here to orbit, and I'd have gone with my mouse and click, 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 click. Instead, I spin up and I spin down. So, really love the space mouse. They are not a sponsor. I bought mine and love it. All right, space bar to get back to the selection tool. We're going to do the line tool here. click right in the middle here, and we're going to see, we know we had an 1/8 inch wall on that. So let's look at what 1.25 looks like. That looks pretty nice. All right, so let's do 0.25. No, that'd be 1/2 inch. We don't want a 1/2 inch there. Let's do from the center, let's do 1/8 of an inch. Okay, 1/8 of an inch. And then we're gonna go back this way, 2.5. We're gonna go over here, 0.25. And back down here, right there. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Whoopsie daisy. Let's do that again. Back up, click into the component. I could have just copied that and added it in, but hey, I didn't do that. All right. My geometry back. There we go. There's my center. Good. All right. Found my center. We said we're going to go 1.25. We're going to come over 1/8. Come down 2.5. Come over 0.25. Back up 2.5. And over. All right. Now we got our first one in there. From here, let's go ahead and let's make... what do we want to do? Ooh, you know what? Instead of making it dead in the center, what if we do it like this? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go eraser tool. Let's erase this out. We know where our center line is. Let's do this. Let's go 0.5 or 0.25 this way, 0.25 this way. And then we're going to go 1.25 this way. We're going to go 0.25 this way, 2.5 this way, 0.25 that way. And there we go. And then let's go back over here and we're going to go 0.5 this way. I'm sorry, 0.25. 0.25, so we're going 1/4 inch. 1.25 this way. On the red axis, 0.25. Down here on the green axis, 2.5. Over here, 0.25. Back up to here. Boom. Boom. Done. All right. So now, back from the midpoint here, let's do another one. Let's go 3/8. All right, so now we got 3/8, and let's do, what does 1 inch look like? 1 inch is too far. How about 3/4? Hey, there we go. That looks nice. 0.25. So 3/4 is 1.5, so 1.5 inches. Then 0.25. Then back over here. Good, 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 good. All right, let's go back over here and do 3/8 over this way. All right, we're gonna go 3/4 on the green axis. We're gonna go 0.25 there. We're gonna come down this way and we're gonna do 1.5, so 1.5 inches. 0.25, and there we go. Ooh, that looks pretty. You know, it looks pretty, but I don't really like the squares on the corners. So let's do this. We know that we've got 1/4 inch each way here. How about we go back to the line tool? And we know that the halfway on this is 1/8, so let's do 1/8 of an inch there. Let's do 1/8 of an inch there. Escape is getting me out of this. 1/8 of an inch there. I'm hitting escape to basically, it remembers my 1/8 of an inch as I come down like this. And if I hit escape, it's fast to be able to go like that with it. And here we go, 1/8 of an inch. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to use my arc tool. Click on the end of that 1/8 inch, and I'm going to drop myself in an arc. And there's my arc. I realized here that I forgot my 1/8 of an inch. Go back to my arc tool. I'll come down here, draw my arc. On this, I'm not going to modify my segments. It's pretty darn close to what I can get, so I'm going to just leave that with that. How do I know that? Because I've done this too many times. So let's see. Let's talk about this. So why did I want to do this cap? Well, the reason why I wanted to do this cap was because like I said, I modified my planer. I'm now using I bypassed the chip extractor on the back, and I have a dust boot that I made that goes right over the top. That way I can use my dust collector, and I get a better extraction on my chips. It's less wear and tear on the motor, and it works out really nice. But when I did that, I left the fan in because I wanted good airflow, and that way the motor stays cool, because I have a problem with that motor overheating from time to time and popping my circuit breaker. Even though it's rated for below 20 amps, somehow it sometimes pulls 20 amps because it's the only thing on that line. Anyways, so I definitely wanted to keep airflow going, but I want to protect fingers, especially since, I've got kids in the shop and things like that. My kids come and help me, and I definitely don't want them to stick their fingers in here accidentally. So by doing this, I end up with a nice little thing. All right, so now I've got my little dust port holes. I'm going to click on the center of that, use the push-pull tool, hitting P on my keyboard to get to that, and then I'm going to go up, and I'm just going to go ahead and line that with the face. There we go, cuts it out. And all I have to do now is go find the next one, double click, next one, double click, next one, double click, and there we go. We have this all done. So there you go. This is a dust port cap for my DEWALT 735 planer. All right, that looks pretty nice. So the next step for this for me is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go pull up my Prusa slicer. Go ahead and put this into Prusa slicer and get this sliced up and move on from there. So thanks for joining me on this SketchUp tutorial. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave me some comments and I will answer them the best I can. Thank you very much. Until later, this is BuilderDadDan in the BuilderDad shop. Having a fun day.